All right, I'm going to hold my hands up. I was wrong about the Four Nations tournament. It has ruled so far. Let's talk about it on today's Locked on Blue Jackets.
You're Locked on Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Blue Jacket, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jeff Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked on Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I also have to let you know, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just go to FanDuel.com to get started. We're going to talk about the Four Nations tournament today because, like I said, I was wrong. I think a lot of people were wrong. I was not excited for this tournament. I was like, this is going to be, mediocre. It's basically going to be an all-star game. Players don't really want to be there. They would rather be on a beach somewhere. And then it turns out that sometimes if you don't go to the Olympics for 8 years, and also there is, a rising geopolitical tension between Canada and the USA, and Sweden and Finland generally hate each other anyway. Not that Canada and the USA don't hate each other anyway, in terms of sports, but just kind of made a pressure cooker of what happened on Saturday, which was the two rivalry games where, you had your Sweden and your Finland as a warm-up, and then USA Canada at night. That was maybe the most hate-filled game I've ever seen. So I want to talk a little bit about the tournament. I want to talk a little bit about Werenski specifically because he's the only Blue Jacket there, and he's been great. And we're going to take a quick look towards Thursday night's championship game, which Zach Werenski will be taking part in because the USA did finish, I believe, at the top of their group. So let's get into it. Like I said, this has been a lot of fun. I still think that it was, poorly marketed by the NHL. I think they should have made it easier to watch for the most part. I think they should have, more people should have known about this. And I do still think that while the tournament itself has been excellent, I don't know that you can call it a true best on best when two of your top three NHL point scorers are not in the actual tournament. Like, obviously Russia wasn't there, which kind of surprised me a little bit because Russia is banned from IIHF in play, but this was not an IIHF tournament. This was just an NHL thing. So I am a little bit surprised that they didn't pick Russia to be in it. I don't know whether Five Nations doesn't have as good of a ring to it or what, but no Nikita Kucherov there, and then obviously Germany was always going to be a tough sell for something like this. So no Leon Draisaitl either. He'll be at the Olympics though. And I don't know what the plan is. Actually, let's talk about the World Cup of Hockey for a minute because they've announced that it's happening 2028, I think, is the return. But they've said that they're not going to do a Team North America and they're not going to do a Team Europe. They're going to do quote unquote real countries, which that's no fun. Team North America was, again, previous to Canada USA on Saturday. Team North America was the most fun that I've seen with international hockey in a really long time. So international men's hockey, I should say. But what countries are going to get to be in it? Are you still going to not have Germany in this? Which, are you still not going to have Leon Draisaitl? Tim Stutzler is only getting better. Morris Seider is one of the better young defensemen in this league. I have a lot of question marks about the World Cup of Hockey. I think Team Europe should be there. I think Team North America should be there. But regardless, I am excited that we are going to see more of Canada and the USA, at least just trying to murder each other for the entire game. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot, right? But that being said, again, I watched the first game of the tournament, I believe, was Canada-Sweden, and I watched that, and I was like, oh, okay. Again, I was wrong I was not expecting this to be as fun as it was. I didn't think that they would like phone it in necessarily. I think international competition, has a little bit extra on it, but the games are essentially meaningless, right? Like you're not getting an Olympic gold medal, you're not getting a world championships medal, you're not getting a Stanley Cup out of it. Like this is essentially an exhibition game. This is essentially a series of like I don't know if like the concept of like a friendly match exists in North America, but like in England, if you have like again basically an exhibition match, we call them friendlies, because you're supposed to be friendly at the end because the game doesn't mean anything. That's not always necessarily true, but that's essentially what these games are. They're friendlies, even when they are full of hate and booing and murder and 3 fights in 9 seconds. Looking at you, Canada, USA. But that kind of proves my point. Like I didn't think that it would be this intense, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Like I was like, you know what, I'll put it on. It'll be fine. There's no NHL hockey. Like the AHL wasn't in action then. And I was like, I'll put it on. Why not? I've got some work to do. I'll throw it up on the TV and we'll see how it goes. And then I was like, oh, actually, this rules. Like the opening goal of the tournament, the McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby moment of like, oh, okay, well, we should have all seen this coming. Like, it took them about 6 seconds on the power play to score a goal, and you're like, man, how were these guys kept out of the Olympics? And like, obviously, there was some COVID tension in 2022, 2018. Gary Bettman was there, was doing stuff, but like genuinely fun, engaging hockey that the players cared about. Like the players acted like they cared about it. When you contrast that with like what Nikita Kucherov did at the All-Star game in Toronto, where he basically just kind of phoned it in for his event and got deservedly booed and panned by it. And then the NBA All-Star game was this past weekend, and I believe a team got like disqualified for not trying hard enough, which again is very funny. But when you have that compared with the Four Nations, like, okay, I'm not giving credit to Gary Bettman for having a good idea here. Like, he did not create the concept of international play. I'm giving credit to the players for buying in and like okay, I guess I'm giving credit to the league for like letting it happen and for not doing another All-Star game. Like, because here's the thing, if we'd done another All-Star game, it would have been a couple of weeks ago. We would have talked about it for a minute and then we would have completely forgotten about it. This feels like things are gonna bubble over. Things are probably not like into actual NHL games necessarily, unless there is really some bad blood that happens there. But like, I don't know, man. This was just a lot of fun. I have thoroughly enjoyed every single, and I've watched all the games so far, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every single one, and I'm really excited for the championship game. Like, I'm not surprised that it's USA Canada. I think that was a pretty kind of foregone conclusion. I think Sweden gave it a good go. Finland was kind of hamstrung from the beginning when, there's only 11 Finnish defensemen in the NHL, and your top, 3 of your best 4 injured. So you have to, and this is no shade to like Matt Parlow, who was great, but like you can't sit here and be like, yeah, no, he would have been there if Mira Heiskanen, for example, had been healthy. But it's going to be USA Canada in the final. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But before we do that, what I want to talk about is our very own Mr. USA, Zach Werenski, who has been excellent for the Americans in this tournament. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we'll talk all about how Zach's looked in this tournament, and could he be the MVP of the Four Nations? We talk about that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about SelectQuote. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, the Olympics, the Stanley Cup. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage of up to $5 million. No medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you'd think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. Go to selectquote.com/LOCKEDON-NHL today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk about Zach Werenski, the only Blue Jacket in this tournament, and he has been repping the team phenomenally. He has been one of the best players on Team USA, if you ask me. He's currently tied for the lead in tournament points. He's got 5 assists, had 3 assists in the first game, had 1 assist last night, and had 1 assist against the Americans as well. So 5 assists, 3 games, and again, has been very, very good for the Americans, which we kind of knew, right? Like, I think a lot of people are kind of looking at and we'll get into some Norris talk for a little bit here. Like, a lot of people are like, okay, yeah, no, he's having a great offensive season, but he's on Columbus. Like, of course, he looks good on Columbus. They don't have any players. He's nowhere near as good as Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar. Well, Quinn Hughes had to pull out of the tournament due to injury, which is, fair enough. Cale Makar missed the USA game, actually, due to illness. But Zach Werenski is here, and he is showing up. Do I think he's the best defenseman on Team USA? Like, he might be. He certainly showed it tonight. He was very, very good. I liked him paired with Jake Sanderson a lot. I did have a thought about, hey, what if we just kind of pry him out of Ottawa and see where we go from there? But that's obviously not happening. Zach Werenski led the Americans in shot attempts. He had 37 shot attempts in all situations, 24 of those at even strength, and had a 63% shot attempt share. That didn't lead the team, but it was good for the best defenseman on the team. So the only guys on the team better were Matt Boldy, Dylan Larkin, Jack Hughes, Jake Gensel, and technically Brady Tkachuk, but he only played a minute 55. Had, I think, 3 shifts before he left the game due to injury, which is not great news for Team USA for the championship game. They had no Austin Matthews in this game. They had no Matthew Tkachuk in this game, both precautionary apparently, but let's hope they can get healthy for Thursday. But like I said, Werenski has been great for this team. He, like, I don't really know what else to say about him. He's doing everything that he does in Columbus in a slightly different jersey. It's the same basic color. It's the navy, the red, and the white. Maybe that's what it is. He's playing exactly the same because to him it is exactly the same. And I do think that the game against Sweden, despite the fact that the Team USA lost, I do think that was by far his best game. I have seen some criticism about his play against the USA, where his play against Canada, where he only played about 14 minutes and didn't play a ton in the third period when they were protecting a lead. And, like, I'm fine with that. I think it was probably not precautionary necessarily, but, like, I think it's generally agreed. Like, Zach Werenski is not, like, a liability defensively, but I think everyone can agree that he is a much more offensively minded defenseman than average. Like, he is your modern day Rover, as Alison Lucan has called him more than once. But defend it. Like, if you're down a goal, you want Werenski on the ice, right? Like, he played a ton in that third period when they were chasing the game. They were down 2-1 to Sweden, but up 2-1 against Canada, you want Jacob Slavin there. And that Slavin Brock Faber pairing was excellent. all tournament long, but especially in that third period against Canada. I'm not like too beat up about Werenski sitting for some of that period. He has his strengths, and I don't think you're ever going to ask Zach Werenski to be a shutdown defenseman, right? Like, that's just not his strength, in the same way that Quinn Hughes is never going to be a shutdown defenseman, right? Cale Makar is never going to be a shutdown defenseman. So that's what it is. And I kind of, Zach Werenski is the tournament MVP. I kind of was a little bit tongue-in-cheek about it. It was like half joking, half not. But like, I think there are some really good options to be MVP. I think probably it depends on what happens in the championship game. I think Sidney Crosby, who might not even have been playing in this tournament, they were like, yeah, it's his choice. If he wants to go, he can. If not, like, we're probably sitting out. He's not 100%. He missed a couple of games for the Penguins due to injury. And then he has kind of proceeded to rip the heart out of all of his opponents and eat it on the ice in front of them. He's got 5 points in 3 games so far, tied with Werenski for the lead. I think you could say that Connor Hellebuck has been exceptional for Team USA. Like, I thought Erik Karlsson was extremely good for Team Sweden as well. But my guess is that Crosby's going to get MVP unless something drastic happens in that championship game. Like, I don't know, somebody like Austin Matthews scores a hat trick, or Nate McKinnon scores 4 goals or whatever. Like, my guess is that Crosby's going to get tournament MVP, and it'll probably be mostly deserved. But Zach Werenski, for me, and maybe I'm biased, but Zach Werenski for me he has to be in the conversation, right? Like, he's been elite. He's been doing the same thing that he's been doing all season, and I think a lot of people are kind of sitting up and saying, "Oh, hey, maybe it's not just because he plays on Columbus and plays half an hour every game. Like, he's not padding his stats. He is actually this good," which is really awesome to see. And I think that also is you're seeing not a better Werenski, but he played. I had the thing open and then immediately closed it. So if that's on your Locked On Blue Jackets bingo card for today, go ahead and check that off. Zach Werenski played in all situations. He only played 21:30 in last night's game against Sweden. He only played about 14 minutes against the Canadians. He did play, I think, like 25, 26 minutes against Finland in the first game, but that is way different to the last handful of games in Columbus, where he's been playing, 28, 29, up to 30, sometimes more than that, 31 minutes. You're getting a more concentrated version of Werenski, which is kind of what I've been talking about on this podcast for basically since it started, right? Is if this player is this good playing 30 minutes, imagine what you're going to get if you get those 30 minutes and condense them down into 20. You're going to get a more concentrated, you're not diluting the game or the player. You're playing for 20 minutes and he's not going to have to save anything in the tank because he knows he's going to have to play 10 minutes, 10 minutes each period. If you can limit his minutes like that, then you're going to get a way more effective Werenski. And I know that he likes playing a lot. I know that all of those guys that play, 25, 26 minutes on average like to play a lot. Like, they're not going to sit here and be like, no, play me less. Your number one defenseman is going to play a lot, but they don't need to. And I really, truly think that. And I think we've seen a really, really concentrated Zach Werenski at this tournament. Partially probably Team USA of it all, but I do think also it's playing slightly fewer minutes. And hopefully that it won't continue. He'll go back to Columbus, then immediately play. He's going to play like 28 minutes against Chicago on Saturday. I just know it, but like, he doesn't have to. And I wonder if maybe this has pinged something in someone's brain somewhere that's like, hey, maybe if we play him like 5 minutes a game less, the sky won't fall, right? But that being said, Werenski MVP, question mark? More likely than you think. Let's take another quick break, and then I want to talk a little bit about the championship game, which is taking place on Thursday, some thoughts and predictions, and I want to talk a little bit about Johnny Gaudreau as well. So that's coming up in just a second here at Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature. It keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3. I never feel like I've missed my chance. Plus, the app's super easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, and also us, the Locked On Podcast Network. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's just kind of finish off. I want to talk a little bit about the game, but I also want to talk a little bit about, again, this is something I talked about before the tournament started, where I was like, I'm not really rooting for anyone beyond, Zach Werenski's personal success and happiness, right? I don't have that same USA-Canada horse in the race that, North Americans do, for example, and I don't have a team in this for quote unquote national pride, right? So it's like, okay, what's my move here? Do I just root for Werenski? Do I root for chaos? Do I root for fun? Do I root for the downfall of Jordan Binnington? Lots of options. And then I saw that they brought Johnny Gaudreau with them. He's been skating with the team. He's been practicing with the team, helping to run practices. I think this is mostly John Tortorella's doing. He's Johnny Gaudreau's jersey has been hanging up in the USA locker room, exactly like it was for the World Juniors. And I believe also they've been giving out, well, I don't believe, I know because I've seen it. The Gaudreau jersey is the player of the game item for Team USA. So Brady Tkachuk got it against Finland for his performance, which I believe was a 2-goal night for him. And I don't know who got it against Canada. My guess is probably Jake Gensel, but I don't know. I haven't seen any footage of it, but just a really nice touch to, again, keep the Gaudreau family involved, keep them centered, because Johnny Gaudreau would have been on this team, right? He would have been. He should be there. He's not. It sucks. It's really sad, but having the jersey there, bringing Johnny Gaudreau in, it's the WAG jackets, the jackets that the wives and girlfriends are wearing, have a 13 patch on them for Team USA as well. So it's really nice. And I think, going back to, there's been some off-ice drama, let's say, the anthem booing, which I'm not going to get into right now, simply because there's not enough hours in the day. But, the geopolitical tension, let's say, of the anthems and, the stuff like that. And again, I really don't have any ties to Canada or America or Sweden or Finland, but I was like, you can root for a team that wants to win because they have something to play for, in the same way that, the Blue Jackets have been doing it all season. And I think that there's a little bit of that in Team USA as well. We saw it at the World Juniors. They had Gaudreau's jersey hanging up in their locker room all tournament. They won the gold. The Eagles won the Super Bowl for Johnny Gaudreau. They didn't win it for him, but I like to think that he's, up there celebrating, right? Let's keep that going. Let's keep that good energy going. And, I would like to think that they win this for Johnny Gaudreau. Because, like I said, he should have been there. He should have been on the ice. He should have been scoring goals. He would have been. You can guarantee that he was on the initial roster that they had put together over the summer before, filling in the fringe players. He should have been there, but he's not. His jersey is, and the guys are playing for him, which is why I'm gonna choose to believe that the USA is gonna win Thursday night's game. I think Canada has the offensive firepower, but they also are kind of locked into a wild card in net. Binnington has started every single game, and frankly, I don't think he's been very good in any of them. I know that they won 2 of those games, and he only allowed 2 goals in in the other game, the loss to America, but like he makes me nervous to watch. I don't like to watch him. He is unpredictable, but because they've started him every game, like you can't turn and then be like, right, well, we're gonna put Aiden Hill in for the championship game, or God forbid, Sam Montembeau, right? Like you can't do it. For better or worse, you've made your bed. Jordan Binhoon is going to be your goalie for the championship game. That should make a lot of Canadians nervous. I think I know America has the edge in goaltending. It's going to be Connor Hellebuck. He's been excellent so far. He's only allowed 2 goals in 2 games. Has a 960 something save percentage in the tournament. Small sample size, I know, but USA has the edge there. It'll be interesting to see who's playing because both Kachucks are currently injured. Charlie McAvoy injured. He didn't play in the Sweden game, and Austin Matthews, I think, is sick. So hopefully he's better. We'll see if those 3 guys play, and Canada is also going to add Cale Makar back into the ranks, which does change their everything, basically. So like I said, it's going to be interesting. I do think the Americans are going to take it. I think Canada has the offense. I think USA has the goaltending, and I think they pretty much come out even on defense. So it's really going to come down to, I think, who wants it more. And people might die. Someone might die in this game. I just... Again, I'm not going to get into like the fighting and everything that happened really in the first matchup between these 2 teams. 3 fights felt a little excessive. It felt a little staged by the end of it. Like, hopefully they've got it out of their system, and we'll see what happens on Thursday. But like I said, I think the USA is going to take it. I think it's going to be another extremely tense game. I think it's going to be a close game. Probably a 3-2 overtime win for whoever it is. But hopefully we'll get to see Zach Werenski lifting that trophy. And hopefully he, again, has a 4th good game to go with the first 3 that he's had in this tournament. So probably we'll break that down after the game has actually happened. We'll have some fun with it. We'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, etc., etc. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Locked on Blue Jackets. I forgot what the name of my show was there. I'm doing great. I've been Jeff Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. You can email me if you want at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you for listening once again. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.